Ziku was mischievous. He loved playing tricks on the other animals. But with such nature, you have to be prepared for a worse outcome. Ziku couldn't avoid the outcome. Once upon a time, in the vast emerald jungle, there lived a clever monkey named Ziku. The jungle was ruled by a mighty lion named Asgar. He was strong and feared by all. One day Ziku was playing near a waterfall. As he swung from tree to tree, he spotted Queen Leora. She was a beautiful lioness. She bathed in the sunlight, her golden fur glowing. Ziku couldn't take his eyes off her. He stared at her for a long time. He saw the way she moved. She was graceful. Ziku suddenly had a strange thought. He wanted to be with her. He wanted to father her cubs. Ziku knew this was a bad idea. Queen Leora was married to King Asgar. Asgar was the ruler of the jungle. He would never allow a monkey to be with his queen. Ziku laughed at himself. "I'm a monkey," he said. "How could I be with a lioness?" But Ziku could not stop thinking about it. The idea kept coming back. He wanted Queen Leora. He wanted to be the father of her cubs. Ziku was clever. He knew how to outsmart others. He started making a plan. Ziku decided to use tricks to get close to Queen Leora. He would need to be sneaky. He would have to hide his true intentions. He began to think of ways to fool King Asgar. The jungle animals feared Asgar. He was strong and ruled with power, but Ziku was smart. He could trick anyone. He smiled to himself. "I'll find a way," he said. "I will make Queen Leora mine." Ziku began to come up with clever ideas. He thought of ways to trick the king and get close to the queen. It wouldn't be easy, but Ziku was determined. He was ready to take on the challenge. Ziku knew that King Asgar believed in signs. The king was very superstitious. He always sought advice from the jungle oracle. The oracle was an old tortoise. The tortoise was wise and mysterious. Asgar trusted the oracle more than anyone. Ziku thought of a plan. He knew the oracle's voice was deep and slow. Ziku could mimic voices. He had done it many times before. He practiced the oracle's voice in secret. He wanted to trick Asgar. One night, Ziku sneaked into the jungle. He climbed high into a tree. From there, he called out in the oracle's voice, "A cub born under the trickster's blessing will bring eternal power." He whispered. Asgar heard the voice. It was the oracle's voice. The king was confused. He knew that the oracle's words were powerful. Asgar believed in signs. He wondered if this voice was telling the truth. The king became curious. What did the trickster's blessing mean? Asgar thought about it. He started searching for signs. He began to look for clues. He asked his closest advisors, but they were just as confused as he was. Ziku watched from the shadows. He saw the king's worry. He smiled to himself. The plan was working. The next day, Ziku began to plant false signs. He left strange marks on the ground. He placed twigs in odd shapes. He made sure they looked mysterious. It made the signs look like they were made by the trickster. Asgar saw the signs. He believed they were real. The king became even more worried. He thought the trickster was near. He started to look for the trickster everywhere. Ziku was pleased. His plan was working. He had fooled the king. Asgar was so scared that he began to search for answers. He could not stop thinking about the prophecy. Ziku was getting closer to his goal. The queen would soon believe in him. He just needed to be patient. Soon, his trick would be complete. Ziku needed to get close to Queen Leora. He had a plan. He would disguise himself as a lion. He had seen a lion's pelt lying in the jungle. Ziku took the pelt and rubbed it in the dirt. He wanted to look like a lion. He used mud to cover his face. He wanted to look real. Ziku put on the pelt. He stood tall. He tried to walk like a lion. He looked at his reflection in the water. He looked like a lion, but not quite. Ziku smiled to himself. This would work. He walked through the jungle. Ziku moved carefully. He did not want anyone to see through his disguise. He made his way to the king's court. The animals in the court looked at him. They were surprised to see a lion. They didn't know who he was. Ziku spoke in a deep voice. "I am a messenger of the gods," he said. "I have come to bless Queen Leora." The animals in the court were amazed. They bowed down to him. They believed him. Ziku had fooled them. Some animals grew suspicious. They didn't trust the strange lion. But Ziku was clever. He used his wit to make them believe him. He spoke with confidence. He made strange gestures. The animals did not question him. Finally, Ziku was led to Queen Leora. She sat on her throne. She looked at Ziku. She was curious. She had never seen a lion like this before. Ziku bowed low. "I have come to bless you," he said. "The trickster's blessing is powerful." Queen Leora was amused. She raised an eyebrow. She knew something was not right, but she didn't say anything. She was intrigued by this strange lion. "Tell me more," she said. Ziku smiled. This was going perfectly. He had made it. He was close to his goal. He would soon have Queen Leora. Ziku's plan was working. He had fooled everyone, but something went wrong. One of the court animals looked closely at Ziku. The animal squinted and said, "Wait, that lion looks strange." The animal spoke loudly. "That's not a lion. It's a monkey in disguise." Everyone turned to look. Ziku's heart skipped a beat. He knew his cover was blown. King Asgar heard the noise. He stood up from his throne. His eyes were filled with fury. "What is this trickery?" he roared. "Who dares to fool me in my own court?" His voice shook the jungle. Ziku tried to run, but it was too late. Asgar charged at him. The king's roar echoed through the trees. The jungle animals scattered. They all knew Asgar's wrath. Ziku ran fast. He leapt from tree to tree. He used his tricks to escape. He threw a handful of dirt into Asgar's eyes. The king roared in anger, but it only slowed him down for a moment. Ziku reached a river. He jumped in and swam across. But Asgar was right behind him. The chase went on. Ziku ran through thick bushes. He used his quick feet to slip through small spaces. Asgar struggled to keep up. Ziku jumped onto a high cliff. He swung from a vine, laughing. "You can't catch me, Asgar," he shouted. But Asgar was not far behind. The king jumped, trying to grab him, but missed. Ziku swung from vine to vine, faster than ever. He could hear Asgar's roars, but he kept laughing. He knew he had to escape. Finally, Ziku reached the edge of the jungle. He looked back. Asgar was far behind now. Ziku smiled and swung into the trees, heading into exile. That was close. Ziku laughed. "I may be small, but I am fast." The jungle grew quiet again. Asgar returned to his throne, still angry. He knew the trickster had escaped. But Ziku was safe, at least for now. Ziku thought he had won. He had escaped the jungle and tricked everyone. But the gods were watching. They had seen all of Ziku's lies and tricks. The sky grew dark, and a loud thunder rumbled. The jungle trembled. Ziku stopped in his tracks. A powerful voice boomed from the heavens. "Ziku." The voice called, "You have deceived the king and the queen. You have brought shame to this land." Ziku looked up, terrified. The sky opened, and a bolt of lightning struck the ground in front of him. He tried to run, but the ground beneath him began to shake. The gods had decided his fate. Ziku's body grew heavy. He could no longer move. The gods had punished him. From that day on, Ziku could never escape. He was trapped in the jungle, unable to use his tricks. His cleverness was no longer enough to save him. The gods had shown him the price of dishonesty. Meanwhile, King Asger returned to his throne. His heart was heavy, but he had learned an important lesson. His kingdom would be stronger, for he now knew the true value of trust and loyalty. He ruled with wisdom, never again allowing deceit to take root in his jungle.